here. It's a lovely Tuesday evening, and we're going to have a great time together. A while back, we had a session here when we played a particular tape by a lady, and then we responded to that tape, more like a rebuttal. And so that'll be what we'll be listening to today. But before we get into that, let me thank everybody who has power tapped on TikTok. Thank you very much for getting us to 5.5k likes. Thank you, HRH, and thank you, Yemi Knight, and others whose names I can't say at the moment. But thank you very much for your support. Please, if you are here on TikTok, don't stop power tapping again. It's Tuesday. That means that we're not coming on camera, and we have to make sure we keep the live going by power tapping. So please don't stop power tapping. All right. For folks on YouTube, thank you very much for joining us, and also on Facebook, we're glad to have you here. Please like and share the live stream. I want to make sure the algorithm, recommends the live stream to other users. So please like and share. Probably going to use the next few seconds to quickly do that before we get into the conversation proper. And if you're on TikTok as well, kindly share the live. One more thing, if you're on TikTok, please click on the heart icon, just above, and join the team if you're not a member of the team. If you are, kindly drop a gift, drop your hearts me. All these things help the algorithm to recommend our live and get us on the FYP. Thank you very much. So today, when a woman from the Southeast tried rewriting history, or tried to rewrite history, that's what we're going to be listening to today. But before we get into that, let me say this. Oftentimes people say things like, why are you always talking about, people from the Southeast? So the truth is, it's not really about talking about people from the Southeast. It seems that way because most of us are used to falsehood and propaganda, and so we don't even know. So I decided that day that rather than just teach as though in a vacuum, why not play a recording of somebody who is blatantly lying and then respond to the points they're making. And then, interestingly, it worked, because a number of people who would normally say, Kulutumaso, why are you always talking about? Suddenly, they are not able to see, because they are seeing side by side the truth and propaganda, and then, of course, there are sources and references that we provided in this video. So that's why we do this, not because of any ethnic group per se, but just that some people, somehow lies have become part of the identity, and so when you attack the lies, it's as though you're attacking the people, but it's not about the people at all. It's important to mention this thing so that we have these things in proper perspective. All right, having said that, it's going to be a very long session. I didn't know it was going to be this long. It's going to be about an hour and a half, if not more. All right, so it's two parts. So this is the first part, and then we'll get into the second one afterwards. Before we do all of that, again, please, if you're joining us on whatever platform, kindly like and share the live. We're not streaming on Twitter directly today, but I'm going to share the link so folks on Twitter can also join us here. So please do that. If you use other social media platforms, that will help us get the word out. Thank you very much. Having said that, it's about time we got into today's conversation proper. All right, so again, before we do this, what I'll do is, what we usually do, right, is to read the description, and then we'll begin to listen. So let us get the description. All right. The lies from the Southeast never seem to end. After all these years, and with all the research, books, and verified data available, some folks from the southeastern part of Nigeria continue to push falsehoods with full confidence. Here's an Igbo lady who accuses others of being misinformed and then turns around to misinform everyone with a mix of ignorance, lies, and propaganda. She claims that the coup was led by Yoruba people who were used by Awolowo, a bold-faced lie. and then adds that the Igbo people were used by the Yoruba. She spends the entire time reflecting blame away from her own people and refuses responsibility for historical events. Towards the end, she falls into the tired victim narrative, seeking empathy and pity. The question is, why rewrite history in a way that paints her people as superior and at the same time as victims of everyone else? We are here to set the record straight with facts and clarity. Here is the video when a woman from the Southeast tried to rewrite history. Enjoy, but please tap share as you listen. We're gonna have a fantastic time today. It's gonna be like 1.5 hours of pure beauty with a sprinkle of nonsense from the lady, but we're able to set it right. All right, so let's get into the video. Enjoy. Let's take a listen to this lady. She calls herself Lolo, and more listen.
Hello, Nigerians. My attention has been drawn on a young Hausa Muslim lady. I don't know her name, and I think she is so excited about Nigerian history. And I'm not going to condemn her because she's too young for the information she's giving out. So it's obvious that she was brainwashed, she was lied to. So I'm here to address her, and then...
The person talking, how old is she? She never reached 60. All this, you're too young, you're too young. If you're able to study these things very well, and you have common sense, and you study across board, you will know what happened. Age doesn't confer wisdom on anybody. I mean, some of us are not that young, but it's not even about age, right? It's about being able to actually listen to all sides and know what happened. Because this one, that yes, she may be older than the Hausa lady, but what she's about to say, just take a listen.
I'm here to address her and then give her the real history, the real gist about Nigeria, because the youth now have gone on rampage. They say they want to take back this country and they want to fix Nigeria to be a working nation like every other nation. So I think a young woman like her should be throwing that path. But since she has some information, false information, I'm here to educate her. Now, she specifically said it was troublesome. Igbos are the ones trying to divide Nigeria and the rest of it. Now, my young lady, it was Igbos that work for the unity of Nigeria. In fact, Igbos played a strong part in the amalgamation. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe spearheaded it. Even the Yorubas, Awolowo did not just like it. Hausas did. It was Igbos that work for the unity of Nigeria. In fact, Igbos played a strong part in the amalgamation. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe spearheaded it. Even the Yorubas, Awolowo did not just like it. Hausas.
Wait, though. Azikiwe was born in 1904. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe was born in 1904. The amalgamation took place in 1914, so he was 10 years old. Papa Awo was born in 1909, so he was only 5 years old at the time. So, when did Zik, Awo, and the Hausa sit down to discuss amalgamation? Hell, to Fiakwa. It's going to be a long one. Let's continue. We'll go back just a bit. Kobale makes sense. Okay. Amalgamation.
But since she has some information, false information, I'm here to educate her. Now, she specifically said it was troublesome. Igbos are the ones trying to divide Nigeria and the rest of it. Now, my young lady, it was Igbos that work for the unity of Nigeria. In fact, Igbos played a strong part in the amalgamation. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe spearheaded it. Even the Yorubas, Awolowo did not just like it. Hausas did not. It took Zik a lot of time to convince the Hausas on this Nigerian nation. And then for
the only time that Zik had to convince the Hausas was when the Hausas wanted to secede. And that was in the 50s, before independence. And they had a session in Yaba. And Zik gave a speech in Yaba. And he was one telling them that, oh, if you go, you'll be landlocked. You will have a problem with sea. Kiniko. No, it's not secession clause. It wasn't about secession clause. This was even about the fact, this was before the London conference. The North wanted to secede, and they was telling them why they should not secede. Zik had no business. Zik was not the one that even moved the motion for independence. He was Attorney General representing Action Group. He said, Awolowo did not like unity. Really. Number one, this amalgamation nonsense that she even said has spoiled everything, because there is no way any of them was there when they were having conversations in 1914. That's a fact. But that Zik did something that everybody did not do, it's just rubbish. But oh boy, I'm already tired listening to this, but let's just continue. May not be like say we have to finish what we started, so let's finish it.
For those of you who are saying Igbos are domineering, Igbos are greedy, Zik seated the Prime Minister to Tafawa Balewa and accepted to be just a ceremonial president.
Zik did not cede the Prime Minister position to Tafawa Balewa and agreed and accepted to just be a ceremonial president. No. 1,000 times no. Zik couldn't make that decision. The decision was made for Zik. Zik didn't decide that thing. He didn't. Let's talk some history. 1955. It came out that, and the person who helped us actually know about what's happening was Eyoita. What we discovered was, or what the nation discovered in 1955, was that Zik had been essentially pilfering, taking money that belonged to the Eastern Region Marketing Board, funneling it into the African Continental Bank, his own bank, using that money to fund his businesses. And by 55, they discovered that the business was already essentially bankrupt. He couldn't pay the money back. At that time, the money was already £877,000. The matter went all the way to House of Lords in the UK. And then there's something called Foster Sutton Tribunal that was put together to actually get to the root of the matter. And they discovered that Baba don't pass money. I don't even know how to speak PG very well. The man has misappropriated funds. Zik, right, was going, there's actually a plan between Action Group and NCNC, Awo and Zik, in 1959. What happened in 55, and then there was a House of Lords. I have the document here, the answered in 1956, and then there was Foster Sutton Tribunal, right? And by 59, AG and NCNC, that's Awo and Zik, were supposed to work together, and the plan was for Zik. The plan was for Zik to be Prime Minister and Awo to be Minister of Finance. That was the plan. Because it's not today's topic, that's the only reason I'm not going to be opening books. But if you want me to tell you books, I'll tell you. If you read the answer, I already mentioned Answered, is online, by the way. The Answered is online. You can literally read everything about the case there, right? If you read If Fatherless People by Dele Ogun, it's right there. So what happened was this. While the Western region, or the Action Group, AWO, had the plan with Zik, and they were like, okay, this 59, we're going to make this happen. By the way, every single time there was an alliance between the East and the West after 1953, every time we have had an alliance had been at the instance of the West. In 1953, the first time there was going to be a partnership was at the instance of Zik himself, when he went out of the House of Representatives building to talk to Action Group members who had walked out of the parliament because of the case that had to do with independence. Chief Anthony Nauro had moved the motion for independence in 1956. The North said as soon as practicable, it became, whatever. The action group delegation walked out. Part of NCNC remained, another group walked out. When they walked out, they had a conversation with AG. That was the first time they had an alliance. That was in 1953. 59 was at the instance of the Yoruba, the action group. Only for them to discover, they had gone, according to some reports, gone to Asaba, hoping to have a meeting and to discuss, finalize what was going to happen, action group and NCNC alliance. Only for them to discover that Zeke had gone to work with the North. But why did he do that? Now, there's a report by a man called Harold Smith, who was a British colonial officer, got to Nigeria in 1955. Excuse me. Some of his statements are in the book I mentioned earlier, A Fatherless People by Dele Ogun. And he mentioned that because of the case that Zeke had, having misappropriated 877,000 pounds in 1955, they told him he would go to prison. He had only one option, that is to work with the North. Now, I said all I said before I mentioned this because people have also taken that out of context and say, oh, Oyinbo's cajoled Zeke to work with the North. They would not have been able to do that if he had not stolen money. He misappropriated funds. The British got him to work with the North. And that's how he became ceremonial president. And guess what? I think I should play a video. We're going to come back to this. It should not be sweet like that if I don't play this video. Give me a second. I want to play something from Harold Smith himself. That's the colonial officer. He granted an interview and he said something on this matter. He was there, by the way. So I think we should listen to him. He wasn't just there on the road, though. He was representing the interests of Britain. Take a listen, please.
The British government wanted the North in alliance with either of the southern region, either with the Yorubas or with the Igbos.
But
without which they cannot
they can't do it
rule the country.
The problem was that Awolowo was a highly principled man.
Okay.
You didn't talk to Awolowo about squalid deals and fixing things. Awolowo was not that kind of person. If you read his books, this man was a world statesman. And his young lieutenant, Chief Enaharo, was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. However, they did do a deal with Zik, Dr. Azikiwe,
Okay.
from the East. Dr. Azikiwe, there was this big problem in Nigeria. It's the same big problem in America and in Britain. How do you get funds to fight elections? The candidates in Nigeria had no money, but they did have marketing boards, which were a kind of semi-nationalized industry. And they borrowed money from the marketing boards. But there was a suspicion that Dr. Azikiwe, who has formed his own bank, the African Continental Bank, was actually bankrupt. But he was borrowing very large sums of money from the marketing boards and not necessarily repaying the loans. We knew this. We had a great secret service. All the politicians' phones were tapped. All the politicians' mail was opened. Everything that any major politician did in Nigeria, we knew in hours. We watched. We knew all that was going on.
Are you saying, in essence, that Dr. Azikiwe took money?
He was blackmailed by the British to do our bidding. We told Dr. Azikiwe that he could go to prison if an inquiry was carried out into his bank and his financial circumstances. However, we would not want to be vindictive if Dr. Azikiwe was cooperative in helping forward the plans that we had made in the best interests of Nigeria. Dr. Ezekwe has nothing in common with the northern politicians. He loathed the northern politicians. But Dr. Ezekwe went north, did as he was told, and what he was promised was this. The real power, effective power, would be in the hands of the northern emirs. However, it would look great if the president was Dr. Ezekwe and he was given a field marshal's uniform and an admiral's uniform. He asked, please, could he have a row of medals? But they said, well, no, that was a bit difficult, you know, to get the medals. So when the ambassadors started arriving, he was known to be asking people from foreign countries, you know, perhaps they had a medal for his uniform. We thought this was terrible, but it was said that this happened. He was very vain. And for a time, he functioned as first the Governor General, and then when Nigeria became a republic, as the president. But he had no power. And when he did try to tell the army, he said, I'm the field marshal, the army has got to do this. They said, hey, you're just a ceremonial figure. You have no power.
Someone says, so Zik was a puppet and was made so due to his criminality. You could say that. I'll read some things from the Forster Sutton Tribunal, from the Forster Sutton Commission of Inquiry report. We're going to have another session to discuss this whole thing, right? But here's something from that tribunal. This is from Cambridge University Press, by the way. It says, the tribunal concluded Azikiwe's conduct, quote, fell short of the expectations of honest, reasonable people, end of quote. The Eastern region had placed large sums in 1955, reportedly £877,000, funds from marketing board reserves into the bank via the region's finance corporation. The ACB extended favorable loans to companies controlled by Azikiwe's group at low interest, with repayments deferred until much later, even though ACB, African Continental Bank, was financially unstable. The pattern suggested a serious conflict of interest. A public official, who is the premier of the region, effectively using his public position to channel public funds into a private institution in which he had personal interest, and now use that money from that private institution to fund his own private businesses. Contrary to accepted standards of public office is equal to public trust. However, deemed the conduct as below the standard expected of honest, reasonable people, it did not impose criminal or legal sanctions against Azikiwe. Why? Because of what Aaron Smith just said. So the idea that Zik was like, oh, I'm a statesman, I don't want to be a premier. You be the premier. I'm just going to be this ceremonial president. After all, what are friends for? That nonsense. It did not happen. Let's go back to the lady talking, whatever she said. I'll be stopping and playing. But let's continue now.
It's a Nigerian nation. And then for those of you who are saying Igbos are domineering, Igbos are greedy, Zik ceded the prime minister to Tafawa Balewa and accepted to be just a ceremonial president. So it shows the quality of Igbos. The rebellious one was Awolowo, who contested for the Senate and did not win. So he became rebellious from then on.
This girl doesn't have sense. Listen, anybody that insults Yoruba elders, particularly Awo, as far as I'm concerned, they are stupid. I don't care how old they are. They could be 75. They'll still be stupid to me. But let's even respond to what she says. She said that he tried to go to Senate and he didn't win. That's nonsense. He clearly won. He went to go to the federal parliament and he won. And guess what? He became leader of the opposition in parliament up until the time he was sent to prison. He won. What did he not win? What he did not win was the slot to become prime minister. Why? Because they couldn't constitute the majority. This is why I say fools grow old, though. What's with this nonsense? I always the one that was the condescending tone with somebody that you could never, your fathers could not lace his shoes. Your grandfathers could not lace his shoes. Then you now come and lie again, say he didn't win. He won. He was in parliament and he was the leader of opposition. But you wouldn't know. Instead of you to be reading books, you'll be listening to Radio Biafra.
Now, what actually caused the war, my young lady, is Awolowo that caused that war, because he was so restless when he couldn't win the Senate, and when there was an election in the the southwestern region, I think Zik won and he rebelled. Do you know that Awolowo was the first?
Jesus is Lord. Is there a school for stupidity in the Southeast? Zik won. Where? When? Zik's winning was in 1951. When you're discussing it happened in 1962. Jesus is Lord. Zik did not even win more than his own seat. And he was trying to become the leader of business government and he lost. Just like you guys will keep losing anything else to the federal government. It's the truth, by the way. Someone said Zik won before the war now. Which seats did Zik win before the war? In the East? He didn't even run for any seats after he became premier. He was premier from 54 to 59. Then he went to federal. He went to become president, and that was it. He was elected in 51, and he won, by the way, Yoruba land, and then went to Ibadan to represent Lagos. And then when he could not, then he wanted to become the leader of government business, and he did not do it. He couldn't win. So what did he do? He moved back to his base in the East, and then he became premier in 54. He didn't have to run for any office. 59, he could have, but then again, yeah, we listened to Aaron Smith. Aaron Smith tells us, what happened, and someone, yes, until 79. And guess what? What he did in 59, he repeated in 79. Awolowo still initiated, this pact. By the way, there's a book, Nigeria on the Keg of Gunpowder, by Victor Taiwo, that talks about the fact that he said he wasn't going to even run in 79. At the time, in 1979, Zik was 75 years old. Because we talk about these people, it's about to be mentioning, he was 75 years old. So he said he wasn't going to run, he was going to be the statesman. Then he changed his mind and said the old man that said King Kong young man, he did one parable. Then eventually ran as the NNA presidential candidate. As Awolowo had, talked about alliance with NNA, UPN and NNA, he broke that agreement just like he did in 59, 20 years after the same thing, every single time. That's why when I hear all this nonsense about Southern Alliance, you must be very, very ignorant to think that you can have an alliance with the Southeast and then you can do something. It's not because they are bad people, it's just because they have a different mindset and they have a different, goal, which is okay. I'm not saying you should change your goal. I'm just saying that based on what you are and who you are and your goals, I can't work with you. Every single time there was going to be an alliance between the West and the East, now the West go say more to them, now the East go break them. Now the East go come, they cry all over the world, say they don't betray me. Now you betray people. Oh. More continue. I don't know how many minutes I don't take listen to this 5 minutes video, but okay, it's 5 minutes 54 seconds. Let's continue.
Do you know that Awolowo was the first person to go to prison for treason in this country? Not an Igbo man. It was a Yoruba man, the first person to go to prison for treason. And he was in that treason and coerced his own people.
Hey, Nibino, did he go to prison for treason? Yes. How would it? I know what, one of these is, I think we should do a session on that thing because there's a lot of nonsense. Let me recommend 2 books on this treason issue. There are many books. 3. We should have a session on this treason thing. And what happened with Justice Showemimo and the exact words he uttered, just like we can talk about what, they said with their guy. Chief Awolowo, The Political Moses by Odugua. My March Through Prison, Adventures in Power, Book 1 by Awolowo himself. And then Chief Awolowo, there's another book called Adventures in Power, Book 2, Travails of Democracy and Rule of Law. Awo said this, as at 1961, Akintola was already pushing the idea that Awo was planning to upturn the government. And that's why you discover that the idea that they just came and said, oh, he did it, they set it up for over a year. When they had the Just Congress, that was the first time that thing came out. And came out from Akintola. When we have the session, we'll talk about it. It was a setup. You couldn't say this is what he did or what he said. That's why when I saw Aloy Ejimako, I don't know what kind of gut you would have in your life to compare Awo and your Kanu. That's impossible. You couldn't say what he said. You could say, we heard this, we heard that, but nothing concrete. But the accusation began long before. I mean, it was so bad that in 1961, Awo had to do this thing where they called the leaders of Yoruba people, including Obade Soja Aderemi, and they had Akintola, in that meeting. And Awo said, this is what he has been saying. And then he started saying he didn't really say it. Then they called the other two people that he had told those things, and then they said he didn't really tell us. And eventually used it against him in 62. It was a setup. And we have evidence. Not all this your rubbish that you're saying. We have evidence. It's not there. It did not happen. But did he go as prison? Yes, it did. But guess what? While the length she's about to say right now will make me spend some time discussing this thing. Emma Bruno. Okay? But let's listen to. I'll just go back a little bit. Take a listen, please.
In this country, not an Igbo man. It was a Yoruba man. The first person to go to prison for treason. And he was in prison and coerced his own people to carry out so that he can come out. And some young Yoruba soldiers convinced Igbo soldiers. And of course, in their way and manner, they deceived Chukwumansogu to lead that coup, for which he did. And then that coup.
This is insanity. Anybody that knows that should tell her, this is insanity. This is insanity. Number one, there is no way on God's own earth that the man was planning a coup from Calabar prison. The people who planned the coup never, 200 people were interrogated in April of 1966. Between January and April of 66, a document was published. Not in April, by the way. The document came out maybe about 20 or so years ago. It was declassified. It's called the Special Branch Report, April 1966. Not once did they mention Awo. All of them, interrogation, 200. And the ones who wrote books did not even mention Awo in that light. And I'm going to tell you what they said. Because this lot will always mention Adewale Ademuyiga, go and read where we struck. They have never read that book. They only mentioned that book because the person that wrote it is Yoruba. So let's break this thing down. Number one, he said he was in prison when he was planning it. Ask her for what's this? What do they call this? Ask her for proof. She'll tell you, I don't feel like give you. The proof of liars and propagandists from the Southeast, and this has been the case since the 40s. It's always, I don't feel like give you. They have nothing of this, it's just nonsense. There's no proof that happened. He said he convinced Yoruba officers. So I want to ask if hear the names and let me know if these names are Yoruba. Don Okafor, Emmanuel Fajuna, Ogbo Oji. Are those the Yoruba people that called Nzogu to go and start a coup? If you read the Special Branch Report of April 66, in August of 1965, that was when they began to plan this coup, and there were 3 people who started the planning. August 65. By the way, that was about a year after Ojuku's coup was quelled. Ojuku and Azikiwe were going to have the coup in 64. And you can find that in Sheikh Shagari's book, we're talking about what Azikiwe was trying to do, but didn't really go deep. When you want to go deep, you have to read David Edgeworth's book, Reminiscences, and then you put that together with Emeka by Frederick Forsyth. That was Ojukwu's coup in 64 that somehow Welby Everett was able to stop. 65, those three, Emmanuel Ifajuna, Don Okafor and Ogboji, started planning the coup and began to get people to work with them. So they recruited a number of people. They recruited Humphrey Chukwuka. Then they recruited Chris Adoforo. Then Chris brought in Nzogu around October. Then Nzogu brought in Adewale Ademoyiga around ending of October to beginning of November. So the idea that Yoruba people got Nzogu to organize a coup is only insanity. You have to be very stupid and be mad to say that. Because not only is it a lie, it has no basis in reality. It was, you had 6 people planning this thing, and 5 of them were Igbos. And guess what? They were happy to do it, and the Igbo people celebrated that coup as their own after Ironsi became the head of state. And you see it in books by Shehu Shagari, Bekon to Serve. You see it in The Tragedy of Victory by Godwalabi Sama, and The Origins of the Civil War by Azikiwe. They were glad to say it was their own coup, and it worked. Then they said, oh, number one, I don't know how Awo in prison is able to get this. The one that I know Yoruba people to even fight this stuff. The Yoruba people that got involved in it, if you read the book by Fola Oyewole, they got involved around to 11:40 p.m. on the D-Day. And if you read the book that they're always telling you to go and read, please, Yoruba, please read that book. You should read the book, because it's not only lie they get the inside this word. Adewale Ademoyiga said all of them did not know what they were there for. And that is also confirmed by Ben Bule in his book, Nigeria's 5 Majors. And Ben Bule is Igbo. Then he said that Ola was going to become head of state. No, that's stupid, because a person is in prison. The book that everybody's always talking about, Why We Struck, the man said they planned to release Awo from prison. That's where he stopped. And then he said that the government they wanted to run was going to be a military government. It wasn't about civilians. It was going to be military government, and they planned to create 14 states in Nigeria, 7 in the north, 7 in the south. That's in his book. So what he wrote was that they're going to release Awo from prison in Calabar. However, when you read Special Branch Report of 66, it turns out that there was no plan for Calabar at all, which means that the Yoruba man was brought in with this fine stuff about, oh, we're going to release Awo because he's a prisoner of conscience. But there was no plan. I've said it several times. There were 5 capitals in Nigeria in 1966, because there were 4 regions. There were 5 capitals in 1966, and there was one place of interest. The 5 capitals were Lagos, Ibadan, Kaduna, Enugu, and Benin. One place of interest was Calabar. Of all those 6 places, they only planned for 3. Lagos, Ibadan, and Kaduna. That was it. They had no plans for Enugu, had no plans for Benin, and definitely had no plans for Calabar. The man was supposed to take the helicopter, the chopper, to go and take Awo from prison. Sunday was not available the day before. The one that was supposed to go to Enugu did not leave Lagos until evening. If you allow these people lie to you, it's your fault. And the reason people have been quiet for Igbos because, oh, they suffered. You cannot use, we can't be doing trauma bonding. If you suffered or suffer for you can't use your suffering as a cover to perpetuate lies about others. Let's listen to a few more things.
That coup was actually to release Awolowo from prison and make him president so that you can have peace. But eventually it was foiled.
Also, the idea that the coup was put together to make Awolowo president was first published by none other than the Eastern Region newspaper in 1967, 1 year after the fact. 1.5 years, as a matter of fact. 1.5 years after the fact, that was when the Eastern region decided to tell the whole world, though, Eastern region government paper, that, oh, the reason they did this thing was because they wanted to release Awolowo and make him president. Nobody ever said that. These people cannot make progress because there's no way you are lying like this. It's just a bunch of retards. Like, you can't be saying this thing about Awo, especially when it's a lie. If it's the truth now, we say, okay, what happened, oh, we are sorry. But, I say, it is what it is.
And now, who fought the coup? 2 Igbo men, Ojukwu and Agui Ironsi. Now, if they are so desperate, Agui Ironsi would have supported the coup and become president.
Agui Ironsi supported the coup and he became head of state. That's the point. Agui Ironsi was in on the coup, not the coup, or nonsense that she said. Agui Ironsi was literally in on it. He knew what was going on. All you have to do is open your eyes and read. Q. Go on, the biography of a soldier statesman by J. Samuel Laigu. Mention exactly what the man said. Agui Ironsi. Tragedy Without Heroes by Larry Njoku, the first commander of Biafra military. He told us what he said. David Ejo wrote reminiscences. We saw what he did on the morning of January 16 or January 15. Don't come and be talking nonsense. Nigeria's 5 majors by Ben Buli. We saw how he escaped death. It was planned work. And then you mentioned Ojukwu for the coup. Ojukwu that knew about the coup, that was sitting on the fence. Whichever one that works for him will just join. Himself, Madebo, Obienu. Obienu was in Abeokuta. Obienu was supposed to bring the tank that they were going to use in Lagos. He now changed his mind suddenly. Then 2 days later, he was the one arresting them, and then he was the hero. You guys are not serious.
And possibly kill all the northern high officers. So for you to know, my young lady, you are not well informed.
That's literally what happened. How many officers did the West have in 1966? 6. We lost 2. How many officers did the North have in 1966? They had 5. They lost 4. Leaving only Gowon. So what kind of nonsense is this? Oh, if they really wanted power, they would have killed all the Northern officers. That's literally what you did. You killed all of them. Lagema, Pam, Memalari, Kerr Mohammed. Those 4 were killed. Those are the Northerners. 4 out of 5, leaving only Gowon. That's why Gowon was made the head of state in July. Well, in August 1, after the July coup, July counter coup of the North. They said, you know what, it has to be a Northerner. So they chose the most senior Northern officer, the only one that was remaining. And the only reason they did not kill Gowon was because he came back the day before. He literally just arrived from the ship. He was on a ship, arrived with his girlfriend Edith, and then they met the man who was telling them that nobody knows tomorrow. You know, see, you killed all of them. Yoruba people had 6. You killed Ademulegun and Rapshoda Inde, and Ademulegun's wife, 8 months pregnant, killed. The Yoruba officers who were not killed were the people who were not around. The only one who was around was the person who was going everywhere to make sure that everybody supported the Ironsi, Victor Banjo. And what happened to him on Monday? He was running around on the 15th Saturday and 16th Sunday. Oga becomes head of state on the 16th, on a Sunday. By Monday the 17th, he had Victor Banjo arrested. The evil your fathers did, man. The fathers have eaten sour grapes. These children's teeth are set on the edge. And instead of you to find a way to fix it, now lie they lie. That's why you can't be delivered. See, if they really want power, Gowon would have, Ironsi would have supported the coup and have become the head of state. That's actually what happened. He supported it. He said they didn't say they were going to kill anybody. Who told us that? Hilary Njoku. And he mentioned who was in the room. There were 3 people that had 3 different versions, almost the same version of what happened on that morning of 16th, of what I keep saying 16th, morning of 15th January. Ilarin Joku, the first commander of the Biafran army, he Ironsi said, but he didn't say they were going to kill anybody. He knew, and he said as soon as he said it, Gowon looked at him, Njoku, and thought that he knew what happened. But Njoku claimed he did not know, but Gowon did not care because he never spoke to him about it anymore. And Gowon told us what he said the night before. What's all these nonsense lies that you're lying all over the place? Then you said if they really wanted power, they would have killed all the northern officers. You literally killed 4 out of 5. What's the percentage? 80%. And you became head of state. I don't know what drug they are giving people in the Southeast, but it's affecting their ability to reason or more.
And Agui Ironsi. Now, if they are so desperate, Agui Ironsi would have supported the coup and become president, and possibly kill all the northern
That's what he did.
high officer. So for you to know, my young lady, you are not well informed, and that is why they refuse to teach you history in school, and that is why I'm not angry with you, because
so now this one then teach history. Ignorant person, they tell that person, say the person they're ignorant. It's only a Q. You are saying somebody is ignorant. You are ignorant as well now. You are Q that you are lying to everybody.
with you, because you are not informed, because they have built this country on propaganda and lies, and they have fed Hausa youths and Yoruba youths with propaganda and lies that cause the resentment over a tribe, the most peaceful, a tribe that has held this country together, if you ask me. Okay, now, after the coup was failed and Agui Ironsi took over, some northern young militaries also did a counter coup and killed Agui Ironsi.
I beg you. Coup was not foiled. The coup was 3-pronged. Number 1 was to have a revolutionary coup. That revolutionary coup was a cover, spearheaded by people like Nzogu and Adewale Ademoyega. They were revolutionaries. The real coup was ethnic. And the reason for that coup was 2. They had 2 plans. Number 1 was to ensure that Kingsley Mbadiwe became the prime minister. So we would have Igbo president, Igbo Senate president, and Igbo prime minister. Then Igbo GOC, because all of us are Igbo Lawasi. And if that did not work, then you had an Igbo head of state. That was the plan, and it worked. So when you hear this thing about he quelled the coup, he didn't quell any coup. He just switched to the next level. It's like you're watching, what's not this movie? 24. You watch 24, Abi? How many of you have seen 24? You know 24? Jack Bauer. Once you get to the climax, something else will just happen. Where then they go, they know where then they go. It's not like one ended, they know that everything is part of the plan. And it's a plan that did not start in 66. It's a plan that started in 1944. And this one is saying that people are ignorant. It's actually funny how ignorant people tell others that those ones are ignorant. But let's continue.
Some northern young militaries also did a counter coup and killed Agui Ironsi, and over how many Igbo generals, Igbo soldiers, these informations were killed. The only person we hear they kill is Agui Ironsi. We didn't get to hear the remaining soldiers of Igbo extraction that were killed. These things were buried. Now, after killing Agui Ironsi, which Gowon also helped to plan, you can see, so he took over government. And as if
Gowon did not help to plan the counter coup. Kids, this is nonsense. The officers who were Igbos were killed. There were people who were killed. It's true and it's terrible. Over 200 of them. But guess what? It's called a counter coup. It's a retaliation for what happened in January. The one you did in January is Yoruba because you don't have the capacity to bear responsibility. Apparently that's your kryptonite. Then the one they are doing in July as retaliation for what happened in January, you are saying they just killed our people. They did not bury anything. So they buried it. They didn't bury nothing. You don't see over 200 people lost their lives, and it's sad. It's what Yoruba people If you decide to hit a person with a club, if you slap a person and decide to hit you with a club, I mean, next time don't slap people anyhow. I mean, shouldn't have hit you with the club, but you to use your brain. Why are you slapping people? But you can't even take responsibility for the slap, because for you, nobody. They used my hand. My hand was not there. It's the tip of my finger that slapped him. I was not the one. Yakubu Gowon did not plan that coup. He knew about it, but he did not plan it. And he definitely was not going to be the one to head it, unlike Agui Ronse. And that's why, in case, I'm sure a lot of people here know, for 3 days, Nigeria did not have a head of state. July 29 to August 1st, there was no head of state. 1966, Nigeria did not have a head of state. You can go and fact check. You can literally go and fact check. July 29 to August 1, Nigeria had no leader. What was happening in those 3 days? That's the question. They killed, I mean, this is sad, by the way. Nobody deserves to die that way. But let's not act as if, by the way, notice what she should start doing. She start appealing to your emotions going forward. She has been lying all the while, building it. Now she's getting to the climax. At this point, emotional argument, Lokun saying, just what, we'll get to that later. So I said, unfortunately, they killed Ironsi, which is terrible, by the way. They also killed Fajui. But when they did it, the northern region was not planning to install Gowon. Guess what they were trying to do? They were trying to break up Nigeria. They called their Operation Araba. It was about secession. They wanted to have a Republic of the North. And interestingly, they commandeered 2 aircraft in Lagos to move people from Lagos to Kano. Their wives, their children to Kano. The ones who were on the foot, who were not in a plane, they told them to move to Ilorin. They were going to declare a Republic of the North. What happened between 29th July and 1st August really was that, like, Adekunle Ademola, who was the Attorney General, people like Alhaji Salem, I think that's his name, was the IG of police. This is from Beckon to Serve by Shehu Shagari. Let me go back just a bit. 2 BOAC and Swiss Air VC-10 airliners, which they briefly, that's the coup plotters, they briefly commandeered on 29 July, each made one trip to Kano, conveying families of northern troops. Acting on advice, some few northern civilians, including senior civil servants, also packed their bags up north. But these were probably no more indicative of secessionist intention, any more than they were precautions to ensure it was actually secession. It was trying to shield northerners. They did it, and that's okay. At any rate, the rebels made their future intention apparent by asking Ogundipe on 29 July to surrender control to Gowon, but they did not prevail until the next day, following a number of intercessions, notably by a group of federal permanent secretaries and other public figures. Among the permanent secretaries were Alhaji Musa Dagash, that's the name I was thinking of, Abdulaziz Atta, Mr. Eche Ejoyiche, Yusuf Gobier, Mr. B.N. Okagwe, Ibrahim Damsida, Alisin A. Aida, and Philip Asiodu. There was also Sadi Tokunbo Ademola, the Federal Chief Justice, Alhaji Kam Salem, the Inspector General of Police, Sule Katagum, Chairman Federal Public Service Commission, and Mukhtar Tahir, a senior civil servant and intimate of Murtala Mohammed. By the way, Murtala Mohammed was actually the one who spearheaded that stuff. This Oga Gowon did not plan it with them. Then it says here, from Kaduna came Justice Mohammed Bello, a Northern High Court judge, and Alhaji Ali Akilu, the Chief Secretary to the Northern Group of Provinces and leader of its civil service. Sir Francis Cumming Bruce, the British High Commissioner, and Mr. Herbert Matthews, the United States Ambassador, also subsequently went to Ikeja to press Gowon to maintain the country's integrity. In the end, Gowon's leadership was accepted by a majority of the surviving members of the Supreme Military Council, thanks to informal consultations coordinated by Lieutenant Colonel Ejo, the military governor of the Midwestern Group of Provinces. On 1st August, Gowon accordingly assumed power as head of state and supreme commander. Those were the people that made sure Nigeria did not break between July 29 and August 1, 1966. But you know what you do if you really want to destroy people? You absolve yourself of any responsibility. By the way, if your people mess up, I will tell you. Me, I don't. If we mess up, this is where we messed up. Why? So that we don't repeat the mistakes. But if you don't take responsibility for anything you ever do in your life, you can never grow. Whether as an individual or as a group, you always have people. By the way, there would not be. I don't make it. It's not a curse. There will never be a lack of agitators in the Southeast. And many of them are going to be violent. And the reason is not because people hate them, it's because they hear people like this. Oh, we did nothing. They hate us. They are doing because once the children hear this thing over, Kanu was not born during the war, neither was I. Kanu didn't know anything about the war. He didn't see it. He definitely hasn't read anything about it because he speaks very ignorantly. But I'm not surprised. Everybody is ignorant. I mean, it is well. Just regurgitate propaganda. The history na lie. Nobody bothers to study it. Everything they say is what Radio Biafra told their fathers in the 60s. And I've said it here before. If you think I'm lying, read the Biafra's leaders, the trial of Biafra's leaders by Nelson Otta. I've read it here before. I don't want to read it tonight. The Radio Biafra people were lying to the people even when they were losing. And the people were busy celebrating. They will hear gunshots, artillery shell. And guess what they will say? They'll be like, those are Biafran scientists trying out their new inventions. Meanwhile, people are trying to bomb their place. But why are they celebrating in the streets? Because Radio Biafra told them that they're just having fun. They're just celebrating. They're testing out things. The people believe the nonsense. The people that will kill them are coming in. And when they die, they don't blame the people who lied to them. They blame those who came in. Otta called it mass hypnosis. How that thing has lasted since 1966 to tomorrow, next year will be 60 years, right? How it has lasted is something that should be studied. And I think I should read part of it. Let me read something to you from that book. I didn't want to open it before, but now we are here. This is public service work I'm doing now. This is Nelson Otta. Millions of the inmates of Ojuku's monolithic empire, monolith as in their Igbo, inmates as though they're in prison. Millions of the inmates of Ojuku's monolithic empire fed on nothing but the fanfaronade being dished out by Radio Biafra, and so still convinced that, quote-unquote, no force in Black Africa could bring the Biafran empire down, and they were not listening either. The euphoria was too massive to allow either doubt or dissent. And that's why they call, what's his name? Lieutenant Colonel Banjo is a pessimist and coward. So he says here, Lieutenant Colonel Banjo, the pessimist and coward, could go on clocking all over the place like a fuzzy hen. Enugu, listen, Enugu was still under this propaganda-induced mass hypnosis. That's what I was saying earlier. He called it mass hypnosis. Propaganda-induced mass hypnosis. When the troops of the 2nd Division of the Federal Nigerian Army recaptured Benin from the secessionist troops on 20th September 1967, I'll jump to the part of T.Y. Danjuma. Things were no better for Ojukwu on the Nsukka front. It was in the same month of September that Major T.Y. Danjuma had issued to his troops an order of battle that read, quote-unquote, quote, mission to capture Enugu by 1800 hours on D7, end of quote. When the 1800 hours struck, Major Danjuma and his troops started to advance rapidly towards Enugu. This was in the morning of 12th September 1967. Major Danjuma is still alive. That's still Danjuma. Major Danjuma's advance brought him and his troops to such towns between Nsukka and Enugu as Akwebe, in which a young Nigerian intellectual, Major Christopher Okigbo, was killed after his battalion headquarters had been outflanked. Ikolo, Ogbede, Umulungbe, if I'm not pronouncing correctly, I apologize, I'm not Igbo. Ikolo, Ogbede, Umulungbe, and Okpatu. At this time, when
Nigerian army, Nigerian forces were advancing towards Enugu. At this time, Radio Biafra was still busy announcing the recapture of Nsukka and Okwe. Nobody said they just lose Nsukka. They're about to lose the very place they're sleeping in, the very beds that they're laying their heads on, and they're telling the world, the broadcasters running. This incident took place in the morning of 26 September 1967. Your fathers listen to these clowns who were lying to them from radio. I do not believe you because you are crying over it. So that we can say we are one Nigeria. I respect your parents, but your parents didn't know what happened. They were told what happened, and the people that told them lied to them. And the job of sane people. But that's what people. Within Enugu itself, events were marching furiously. Although the mass hypnosis, which was at the time very effective, was still obscuring realities. Men and women in the streets were telling themselves and their neighbors that there was no danger. That the artillery shells, which were then exploding with uncomfortable frequency, were new weapon systems being tested by Biafran scientists. In the very face of death, they were in the face of death. The thing where they throw inside Radio Biafra, when make people come on studio, you hear them for street, you see that your Biafra scientists, they try something. Why? Because you were told that there was no problem. This is not the worst of it, by the way. One day, if I have the time, I'm going to read some of the things from Okonkon Ndem, who was working in Radio Biafra at the time, and the rubbish lies he fed your people with. This is public service. I'm doing this sincerely because of young people that use social media. So that maybe one day, if they ever go online to, if they ever come online to check anything, they will find an alternative to what you are saying, and then they will now be forced to go and check all the books I'm mentioning, and then they will find the truth, and they will heal, and then the region will make progress. Because going by this nonsense, you'll be like this for another generation, because now life full of. So we should believe Radio Biafra because we are all one. No. Now let's go to the emotional part of the lady's argument. Take a listen, please.
Informations were killed. The only person we hear they kill is Agui Ironsi. We didn't get to hear the remaining soldiers of Igbo extraction that were killed. These things were buried. Now, after killing Agui Ironsi, which Gowon also helped to plan, you can see. So he took over government, and as if that was not enough, they went on rampage on the streets to kill innocent Southeasterners and Midwest. Now, when we talk about Igbo, I hope the rest of Nigerians understand who the Igbos are. The Igbos then, from Nigerian own perception, is the Southeast and Midwest. These are people that were termed Igbos, so, and they were the people that were killed during that genocide. And now we are beginning with what is going on now. We are beginning to know that that genocide wasn't actually genocide. It was actually a continuation of jihad. If that killing ought not to have happened. And now let me educate you that during that genocide, do you know, my young lady, that
how was it a jihad? Was it genocide? Of course it was. People were killed because of their ethnicities. That's a terrible thing. Crazy stuff. Igbos were killed because they were Igbos. That's, nobody can even, controvert that. But how that thing can become jihad? You go somebody's house, kill him, papa. When they joke, they laugh the person. They tell the person, say, shut up. Now we own this place together. All of you, we don't deal with you. It's in this book. Should I read it? Shinamaganiku say now only Nzogu can bring sense, knock sense into them. Taunt them in their land. It was so bad. Northern Nigerian newspapers were saying, you've got to curb this thing, Igbos, in the north. Away from home, in motor parks, in secretariats. You taunted them for months. January, they didn't do anything, even though the killings of Sadana happened in January. They didn't retaliate. February, they didn't do anything. March, nothing. April, nothing. It was in May that they got angry. And what made that happen? Because of the decree 34 of May 24, 1966, where Ojuku centralized everything, including land, including civil service jobs, and said there is no regional civil service anymore. Everybody is now one. Unity, Buinani. Give us unitary system, abolish the regional system. Ironsi gave us unitary system, not Ojukwu. Ironsi gave us unitary system May 24, 1966. However, even Ironsi was in on it. Sorry, Ironsi did it, but even Ojukwu was in on it. How did I know? Read the book by Ojukwu's Attorney General, Graham Douglas. He was the one who told, Ojukwu told him to advise them on the draft decree for a unitary constitution in Nigeria in May of 66. He told him that this thing, people are not going to take it easy with you. And he had a conversation with the Solicitor General of the Midwest, Attorney General of the West, of the North. And then they all said that he gave the great advice. Well, a few days later, they promulgated the decree. So here's the point. Did they kill Northerners? Yes. Sorry, did Northerners kill Igbos? Yes. Was it a genocide? Yes. Why? Because it was based on the ethnicities. Based on the ethnicity, and it's bad. Was it a jihad? How? There's something I've noticed, and you see it in the book. You also see it in the book by Bengbule, Nigeria's 5 Majors. If people want, okay, I remember what I was going to say earlier. I am not saying that there are no people who want to have jihad, though. I'm not saying that that there's no group of people who want Islamic Nigeria. I'm sure they exist. You only have to observe. But there's something I've noticed. Every time the East wants to push an agenda, and they did this in 66, even before this whole thing, and then in 67, after they declared Biafra, they will push the agenda of Islam, of Muslim versus Christians. E.g., even one of their best, what's her name? Chimamanda Adichie, still said it. That the reason for the war was because they were Christians and they were fighting them, and then because of the oil. Number one, you did not own the oil. There was no oil in Igbo land. Number two, it wasn't Christian versus Muslim because the leader of the nation that was fighting you was a Christian. Yakubu Gowon was a Christian. Interestingly, Ojukwu told Nebo Graham Douglas that Yakubu Gowon would not fight because he's a Christian. Where am I getting all these things from? The book written by Nebo Graham Douglas is called Ojukwu's Rebellion and World Opinion. That book, you can get it on Radio Me Global right now, on Telegram. It's free. It was published in 1968 in the midst of the war. So don't be say, they just started yesterday. It was not a jihad, that's the point. It had no religion undertone. All they were doing was give you payback for what you did to them in January, and it was terrible and it should not have been done, but don't lie that it was jihad. There was nothing religious about it. You killed the leaders, they killed yours. Well, the ones they could find. And they were wrong to do that. But it's not because of their religion. And I'm not saying they are not jihadists or Islamic kiniko in Nigeria. But this thing where if they want to get the South or maybe Yoruba people, especially, that's what will make them come to you and tell you, church, take back your country. It's not because they care about Christianity. Does Peter Obi care about Christianity? It's not the one that broke a place that's almost homogeneous. Anambra State has majority Igbos. Yes, there are Igala there, but they are majority Igbos. He managed to break them into Catholic versus Anglican. You're not telling everybody, church, take back your country. And a Christian Yoruba person who is a believer is saying it is for the Lord. Muslim ticket. Who told you? Oh, those people want to Islamize Nigeria. How many Qurans have they given to you now? It's Christian versus Muslim. We have a Christian. Read this book, Sheo Shagari. You read what these clowns were telling people all over the world. In Geneva, in Italy. Muslim versus Christian. It's not a religious war. You messed up, they dealt with you, and it was bad on both sides. And may the souls of the departed rest in peace. But they will not even rest because of these lies. The lies not they let them rest. Can we take more of this? Oh boy, it's 7:32. Now 5 minutes 54 seconds with this video. I know say ago. I knew I was going to take a while, but man, I didn't know I was going to take this long. Let's continue.
That during that genocide, do you know, my young lady, that pregnant women's stomach were ripped off? They can't even kill the pregnant woman and let the unborn child die peacefully. They rip off the stomach of pregnant women and kill the unborn child and kill the mother. The woman, the pregnant woman with their life, they will use knife. She'll be looking at them. They will use knife and open her stomach. Bring up the unborn child. So the woman will see her unborn child, see her intestines, and then they will kill the child before the mother and then kill the mother. These are the things that were done in your land. They won't tell you this. Do you know that during the genocide, the Islamic extremists will gag the eyes of people out, and give it to them to chew? That's happened in this your country. Then after chewing it, they will still kill them. Some of them, their ears were cut off and they were given to them to chew. And after chewing it, and they will be killed. So do you know that over 30,000 Igbos were killed in the north? 30,000.
Did that happen to people where people caught up and, I mean, it's terrible. It must have happened. I can't say that's a lie. But I think one of the problems we have in Nigeria is one-sided. What did Chimamanda call it? Single narrative. I want to read something to you. This was a man called Dr. B.J. Imkeme from Calabar, a retired senior medical officer in the employment of the former Eastern Nigerian government. And this is what he said about what the Igbos that is make. I'll come back to the 30,000 figures later. Let's take one by one. I want to tell you what the Igbos did to them. This is Dr. B.J. Imkeme. It was clear to all right-thinking people that these people, the minorities, wanted to remain within the Federation of Nigeria, but with states of their own. This statement was in 1968. It was clear to all right-thinking people that these people, the minorities, wanted to remain within the Federation of Nigeria, but with states of their own in which they enjoyed the right of self-determination. This did not suit the Igbos of the newly declared Republic of Biafra. And so they were determined either to force the 5 million non-Igbos into their republic or to exterminate them systematically. By the way, the Eastern region had 12.4 million people. 7 million of them were Igbos, 5.4 were minorities. But the minorities had the land, the oil, and access to the sea that the Igbos did not have. Let's continue. This did not suit the Igbos, the idea of having their own state. This did not suit the Igbos of the newly declared Republic of Biafra, and so they determined either to force the 5 million non-Igbos into their republic or to exterminate them systematically. To this end, Igbo soldiers were quickly sent to all non-Igbo areas with instructions to keep down the people, detain or even kill all who dared raise a voice in protest against the idea of Biafra. The provincial secretary for Calabar, an Igbo man, called a mass meeting in June 1967 and addressed the Calabar people thus, and I quote, "You Calabar people say you want a state of your own. Let me tell you that by the time the federal troops come here to enforce this mad idea, there will be no one left but grass and weeds, for we shall have flattened your land and killed all you Efiks." From then on, the non-Igbos of the Eastern region were subjected to torture, detention, all forms of human indignities, and even killing. In Asang, a town in Enyon Division, where I come from, and which is just a mile from Okpo, my own village, all the inhabitants, numbering about 400, were carried away to an unknown destination. 2 women, one a relation of mine who had been bedridden for 2 years, were slaughtered in cold blood because the soldiers said it would be a burden to carry them along, and they were under instructions not to leave alive any person in the town. On the way out, a woman gave birth to a babe, Adi, and was groaning in her travail. The soldiers bundled her out of the canoe, which was taking them away, shot both mother and the innocent child, only a few minutes old. In Atanonoyo, another town in Enoy Division, the whole town was burnt down together with all the people the Igbo soldiers could lay hands on. An uncle of mine was killed together with his wife and 4 of 5 children. 4 of 5 children. The only surviving child is a girl of 10 years, a right arm severed, who now lives to tell the tale of how they were all lined up by the river bank and shot. Luckily for her, she did not die and is being cared for by me now. Please power tap on TikTok. In Ikorekpeyong, 3 miles from my hometown, the Igbo soldiers rang the church bell one Sunday afternoon and forced everybody in the village at gunpoint to assemble in the church building for a special prayer for the survival of the so-called Biafra. When all were assembled, the Igbo soldiers surrounded the church, set it on fire, burning down the villagers and shooting those who tried to escape. It is estimated that more than 300 men, women, and children were massacred in and around that church that day. It's plenty. Did it happen only in this place? It also happened in Rivers, in Degema, in Abonema, in Port Harcourt. So these sub stories where you tell people, oh, they did this to me, they did this to me. I mean, I already acknowledged what they did that was wrong. I said that one before, so it's important to acknowledge that one. But no, don't do these sub stories or see what they did to me. See what you did to people. Oh, they cut a baby out. That was horrible. You keep babies in people's wombs, but you hate the idea of, you say, why would you say people also keep people in the wombs? It's not possible. It's a lie. Please read the book by Neil Graham Douglas. You will see all those things there. Again, go to Telegram channel Redomi Global. You find it in the learning section. What the people in River State went through. Churches, 400 people were packed in the same church and burnt down. Just like here, 300 burnt down with the people inside. Who did it? The saints. We should acknowledge what happened to you, but you are not the sole victim of Nigeria's narrative. You should stop being a perpetual victim. It's irritating. See how she stacked a lie. It's a pattern. You will stack the lie with deflect, and then to come to blackmail, emotional blackmail. So the first bit is, I will never take responsibility. I didn't do it, it's somebody else. I didn't do it, it's somebody else. Oh, see what they did to me. See what they did to me. See what they did to me. Before you know, you two are crying. You think you are compassionate, but no, you are ignorant. By the way, there's a very thin line, and I want to make sure that I say it. We all must keep our hearts pure. You should be compassionate. Because that's another extreme that this people can push you to, because you get to a point, you read some of these things, I've even read up to 1/10. You read some of these things, and your heart could be stiffened or hardened. But don't be like that. Show compassion. For the evil that happened to people, show compassion. This is wrong. It shouldn't have happened. Acknowledge what happened that was wrong. Acknowledge it. But don't be naive. Don't be blackmailed. That thin line is, and there's a thin line between empathy and stupidity. Like, I'm empathetic towards you, but if you weaponize that against me, I begin to follow you like Mumu, which is what Nigerians have been doing for the past many years. The line between those two things is knowledge. You will remain empathetic because you are a human being and you have blood coursing through your veins. Somebody says people died. You won't say it's a lie. It doesn't really matter. Of course it matters. People died. It matters. But don't use that to blackmail me. I don't owe you anything. Don't say because somebody did something to you, I should come and do something. I don't owe you jack. In terms of, you know, the point where you'll be told, what belongs to you, give it to me because I went through something. No, I don't owe you that thing. I owe you respect. I owe you love, which is more than you can give. Clearly, you can't even tolerate. You're always hating on everybody. But I will still love you, because I cannot allow you to stay my white garment. By the way, I even think it's, once you allow your heart to become hardened towards people like this, when you see people who are really soft, but be knowledgeable. Some people blackmail you and gaslight you with nonsense. Oh, see what we did, see what happened to me, see what you did. And by the way, it's not today's topic. I've read plenty, but not be today. Then, the other thing she mentioned, that one I'm going to stay on it for a bit. She said over 30,000 people died in the north. Let me start by saying this before I even go into that part. The folks who died in the north, how did they die? Again, to be very clear, I do not think death is something to celebrate. One person dying is one too many. So this is not about, let's compare person will die. I'm not here to say it doesn't really matter because just one person that died. Excuse me. So I'm not saying, oh, it doesn't matter. No, it matters. But how? Then we'll go to the numbers. So this is how they died. January, there was a coup. January 15 was an Igbo coup. With all these plenty points. If you don't get all these things, please watch all our videos. You'll see them there. It was an Igbo coup. If you like, try. That's your business. People thought it was revolutionary until they discovered that, wait, everybody will die. No Igbo die. They were like, okay, wait, these people are lying, no. I said, oh, na Igbo come, na Igbo coup. Then the Igbos were like, oh, yes, well, our coup. We like it like that. We are the Oga. Then they celebrated for 4 months. You guys say people don't get foresight. So it was an Igbo coup. People died. In July, there was a counter coup to retaliate what happened in January. I don't agree with either. Nobody should be killed for anything. They had the counter coup in July. Into August, there was a counter coup, which was bad. And it was a northern counter coup. But here's the crazy part. It was horrible. The Igbos had killed about 24 people in January. These guys killed over 200 in July. It was terrible. But here's where the problem is. People were moving back to the east because of what happened in the north. So they went back home with tales of the killings and all those terrible things. And of course, they had the right to share their story. But here's the crazy part. The folks in the east began to kill northerners. Nobody tells you these things in Nigeria history, especially these ones that we shouting. They did this to us, they did to us. They killed the northerners in the east. Not one, not two, not 100, not 200, not 300, not 500, not 1,000. They were in the thousands. I recommend 2 books. 3. Crisis and Conflict in Nigeria by A.H.M. Green, The Nigerian Civil War by John de St. John, and Sunset in Biafra by Lechi Amadi. They stopped a train filled with northerners who were trying to escape. There were about 2,000 people, according to some reports. All the men in that train were killed and thrown in the Imo River. All. The women eventually found their way to Benue State, Ziotopo Medical Center in Benue, Makodi, or Otukpo, one of those towns. It's in the book, Crisis and Conflict in Nigeria by H.M. Green. Now, they keep people in Port Harcourt. You see it in Lechi Amadi's book, Sunset in Biafra, in Onitsha, in Umuahia, in Oboluafo, in different places. Now, people saw what happened. Some foreigners were there, that Oboluafo incident. They, according to some reports, took that thing with them. Somehow, that report found its way to Radio Cotonou in Benin Republic. People received the signal in Kaduna. Guess what they did? They decided to broadcast that event of Northerners being killed in the east in English and Hausa. This was in August. The Hausa people then heard what happened. Their own people were also returning. They were killed. I mean, I don't want to open that because of time. We spent a lot of time already, but there's a video on it on the YouTube channel. How Northerners were killed in the east. They killed more than, I mean, numbers go into the thousands in different parts. They keep people and loaded them on trains. The news got to Cotonou, like I said, Radio Cotonou, broadcast on Radio Kaduna in English and Hausa. The Northerners, the Hausas heard the news. They went on rampage. Began to murder Igbos. Is it good? Of course not. Of course not. But this is what happened in history. They began to kill Igbos. By the time the dust settled, the Eastern region published a document, October 1966. In that document, the pamphlet is called Pogrom, which is not true. It wasn't a pogrom. It was a massacre. It was terrible. But you can't call it a pogrom. But that's what they called it. They call it a pogrom. And in that document, the Eastern Region government said that between 7,000 and 8,000 people died in the what they call pogrom. Again, I don't mention numbers to discount the experience of people. Even if one person died, that would be one too many. However, we should speak to people who are always lying about numbers, just inflating numbers. There's something that John Descent just said in his book, The Nigerian Civil War. He said Ojukwu played an irresponsible numbers game. That's what this woman just did. And that's what a lot of people do from the Southeast. I'm quoting him verbatim. Ojukwu played an irresponsible numbers game. What did John Descent John mean? You published a document in October that between 7,000 and 8,000 people died. Terrible. Bad. January 4 and 5, Aburi Accord, there was Aburi conference in Ghana. There was a conference in Ghana, January 4 and 5. Ojukwu got there and said to them, 10,000 people died. We were like, well, 7,000 to 8,000 in October. Now he says 10,000 in January. It's okay to round it up. It's okay. Sorry, it's bad. You have to make sure it doesn't happen again. May of 1967, Ojukwu said there were 30,000. It's not like they kept dying, no. They don't die. I mean, well, the case was over. I don't want to say don't die finish, but the case was already done. 7 to 8,000 in October. This is from the Eastern region, no. January became 10,000 people died. It's bad. But like 7,000, 8,000, 10,000. It's still about the same thing. It's terrible. By May of 67, Ojukwu said 30,000 people died. By the time he had the Hahira declaration in 69, guess what Ojukwu said? He said 50,000 people died in 66. That's the thing is, if you notice, the numbers have changed 4 times. I mean, he has given 4 numbers, so the numbers have changed 3 times. 7 to 8,000, 10,000, 30,000, 50,000. If you read the books by, what's this man's name? Frederick Forsyth, Biafran Story, he used the 30,000 number, 30,000 figure. If you read Chino Achebe's book, where there was a country, which is also propaganda, by the way, he also used that number, 30,000. Nobody ever went back, but maybe they discovered that 50,000 was too much. And if you think I'm like, I have a document where he mentioned 50,000. The Ayara Declaration is here. The Ayara Declaration is here. The thing they discussed in Aburi is here. Just throwing up figures. When and why does it do that? Because, I mean, we're all human beings. If somebody tells you 10,000 people died, 100,000 people died, will you ask how? Most likely no. Okay, see what's happening in the US right now. What are they doing? Oh, can you call number 1,000 people die every day? I saw one this afternoon. I was like, I know it's bad, but dear. Oh, can you call 1,000? Just give you that big number, because you also feel something like, this one was not that, which is why or how Ojukwu won the propaganda game. Listen, you've been told that there's propaganda. She has mentioned it. They are raised on propaganda. Igbos were raised on propaganda 100%. Are there exceptions? Yes, there are. But most likely, those people, their parents will most likely be like anathema amongst Igbos. E.g., Ukwabi Asika. He is so hated in Igbo land today. Meanwhile, he's the reason that they are okay, because of what he did from 68 to the end of the war. But nobody really celebrates him. Dora Quinley, good people exist everywhere. I acknowledge that. But we read that book together, Nelson Ota's book, The Trial of Biafra's Leaders. Mass hypnosis. Mass hypnosis. Everybody says the same thing. It's as if you're in North Korea. Otu, abo, ato, ano, otu, abo, ato, ano. You say, asa. Everybody just say the same thing. By the way, I like to say that I studied Igbo in secondary school. I kind of like the language, by the way. It's the mathematics, the numbering system is the easiest I've come across. Otu abo ato ano isi asa asato ito iri na otu iri na abo iri na ano iri na ato iri na. I can't like it. But I mean, jokes aside, the point is people have been hypnotized to the point where that hypnosis has now become the history of the people. So young people grow up hearing those things. They feel bad. They think they are hated. They're not told what really happened. If the Southeast would get better, people have to face the truth and stop believing in this rubbish. And battlefield, yes, Ukwabi Asika's enough is actually here. But one of these days we're going to read Ukwabi Asika's speech. I'll tell you something. If I have 10 Igbo people here, when I read Ukwabi Asika's speech in 68, 9.5 of, no, let's say 9. I don't want, we can't divide people. 9 of them will be cursing out Ukwabi Asika. But if you are interested, you find it in the book called Crisis and Conflicts in Nigeria by A.H.M. Green, volume 2. Is it? Yeah, I think it's volume 2. Okay, just get to volume 2. You see it in one of them. Enough is Enough by Ukwabi Asika. You read that thing, you think it's something that's just talking about. Sincerely, every Igbo person needs to get that document. Please, I beg in the name of God. If you are reading, you think he's telling you about Kano, and I assure you, if you don't believe what that man said, and you don't take care, you don't care for all those things he's saying, you will not be in short supply of Nnamdi Kanos, because that pain has to be expressed somehow. I'm not saying this because I hate Igbos. Number one, that's even beneath me. Hating people makes no sense. It's a waste of energy. But the point is, young people who are cursing people out and just angry everywhere, they don't know the truth. Truth doesn't keep you in bondage. The Bible says you will know the truth and the truth shall set you free. It may make you miserable because you'll be angry. Like, is this the truth? All of us have been through it. If you study history, most likely it will happen to you. Hear the truth, read stuff, and then get better. Your land is blessed. But let's finish listening to this lady. Now she bring us come here today. Let's listen and be blessed. No, you can't be blessed by her, by the way. She doesn't have the capacity to bless. But let's listen to everything she has to say.
When I mean Igbos, both Midwest and the Southeast were killed. And corpses were transported to the Southeast region with trucks load. And you believe that people that will witness this will still want to be together with you. Put yourself in their shoes.
That's all. I told you she's going to end with emotional blackmail. It's a tested and tried method. You start with deflection, you end with blackmail. Take responsibility for nothing. It's everybody else's fault but yours. Then end with, see what I went through. You have trauma bonding. See all of it now. What if it was you? Would you want to stay in the nation? Go. All this thing about we're going to leave Nigeria, going to get on the next bus and go. Someone said she didn't talk about Igbos killing others. She cannot. If she mentioned that Igbos killed others, then everything has sort of party here. It's not going to work. She has to be the victim. It's a... You see, victimhood in the Southeast, I think I said the other day, is not a product of the Civil War. Victimhood in the Southeast has very little to do with the Civil War. It's a strategy, not the reality. It's a strategy. And it's a strategy that began in the 1940s. And they use it for the British, and they use it for Nigeria. They use it to the point where even British were like, wait now, Alpha, Kilo Day. British were like, this was what Arthur Richard said in 1947 January. If he said this in January, that means that people have been doing it since 45 when he got to Nigeria. He said the East contributes the least in terms of revenue, but clamors, these are his own words, clamors for more and more of everything. That clamoring. And if you think we're just saying it, go and read Zeke's speech in 1949. Was literally making Arthur Richard's 1947 point. Oh, we are the victim of everybody. We are the victim of everybody. Once you cry like that, then you'll be like, hey, just take. You are talking, with all due respect to special needs children, I think some people think that, it's like some of these people that are saying that they are, what's that thing they say in the UK now? Some people are doing it in UK. Transabled. Have you heard of transabled before? Anybody transabled? After this session, please, you can go online and check. Transgender is about gender. Transabled is about ability. E.g., there's a case of a lady who can see or could see, blinded herself so she could play the part of a blind man, a blind person, and then she called herself disabled. There are people who cut off a limb to show that they are disabled because they want their attention. So people say it's mental illness, it must be, right? Of course, you're going to get the attention and maybe even the benefit of the disabled. There are people who may not even cut off, but act like that, act like they are. For instance, there are the ones that act like animals. I saw one last week. I was like, oh my show, act like a dog and then bark all over the place. This is what I see. I think I won't mention anybody. I think some people are acting like transabled people. Why? Because they've noticed the attention that special needs people have or disabled people have, and they want it. See, I look at me now. It's not like all of us are working. Why should I work now? Why should I work now? Just go, you're not going to cut off something. My battlefield say I studied the issue in school. I thank God at least somebody else knows this thing. I mean, I know a number of you also. Maybe you're not writing in the comment section. That attention, nobody's giving it again. And it's not because of hate, it's because of knowledge. Stop whining. Stop being a crybaby. Grow up. And if you have a problem with anything I've said today, that's good. Congratulations. It means it's working. And I've tried, like I always do, to be respectful, even though I've seen a lot of people cursing me out in the comments. I saw you guys, I saw you. Flower, Magdidi. I was looking at everything I write in the comment section. I know it's paining you. I would have said you are saying that to your parents, but let's leave your parents out for now because they're also suffering from this hypnosis. So it's okay. It's okay. But please grow up. May God bless you. May God bless your region. And this lady who just spoke nonsense, may God give her grace because she doesn't understand nothing. And she's not ignorant. She's hypnotized. Even the ones in the comment section, hypnotized, just curse me. Like, that's your business. Someone says the psychiatric version is called body integrity dysphoria or body integrity identity disorder. I will mention one in the 60s. We called it projection. It's a mental issue. They're always projecting. Now, I've said several times, as far as the guys in the South are concerned, every accusation is a confession. They are telling you who they are. You're a propagandist, that's who he is. You're a bigot, that's who he is. You hate me, that's who he is. That's what he does. Every accusation is a confession. And then we'll say that to the point where we'll now begin to appeal to your emotions in order to take advantage of you. It's a tried and tested thing that should stop working in Nigeria going forward. All right, I'm going to read some of the responses on YouTube, but let me just bring some people up. One person will speak, and I'll read some responses, and they'll go on like that, and then we'll have everybody contribute. Thank you very much for listening to this very long response to the video. God bless you. All right.
Oh boy, sorry about that. I've been speaking. Wow. I think it's the app, but I hope you can hear me now. All right, so thank you very much for listening to that very long response. And I also noticed that certain people on YouTube have been cursing me out. But I think it's normal, right? It's, I mean, or insults or curse people. I mean, I think it's normal. You can only give what you have. And it's a shame that that will be your response to what we just did. But then, like I said earlier, on YouTube, Wise One, Olagunju Emmanuel Ayobode says, we want them to go. Well, I mean, if you want to go, go. That's my own position. Not necessarily to tell you to leave, but if you want to leave, I mean, get on the next bus and get out of this space, because your presence doesn't really add anything to me, if I'm really being honest, and your absence will not take anything from me. So if you want to leave, you can be on the next bus and then have a safe trip. And I mean, really, people should stop this nonsense of, you know, we're going to leave Nigeria. If you want to leave, talk to your representatives. Let them push the bill for secession clause in the Nigerian constitution. Then you vote and then you get on your way. And by the way, you know, we're going to have a session very soon on Catalonia. What they did. Many of them moved back to their region. Why can't people move back before, you know, disturbing the earth about what is a different nation? Just a bunch of confused human beings. All right, so if they want to go, I mean, nobody's going to hold anybody back. I mean, I don't even know. What do people expect? They say, I want to leave, I want to leave. When you now say go, that's a bigot. Were you expecting people to say, please don't go? It's not like you are so useful like that now. I mean, it is well. But may God bless everybody. I'm sure everybody is useful in one way or another, or in one way or the other, but nobody is actually indispensable. If you up and leave right now, your place will be filled in no time. It's how it works. All right. We have Ademola Ojo on TikTok says truth can be painful because with all the books being referenced, it is undeniable fact. Well, I just hope that people will, to be honest, right? I did that video because I think it's important to respond to lies, and I don't want to do it. And I think that's what I'll be doing going forward. I'll be doing more of that going forward, where we'll play videos and then we'll respond so that people don't, you know, see the truth in a vacuum. They actually see it beside a lie. So they're able to appreciate the truth. Because if you just talk about the truth, you don't really know how important it is sometimes until you place it side by side with lies. And then whichever one stands. And try it 1,000 times, the truth will always stand. All right, I think we've had enough responses. Thank you very much for listening to that. When a woman from the Southeast tried to rewrite history. And I just want to advise all of us, let's be grounded in these things. And lastly, like I said in the video, please don't let people's lies affect your heart or harden your heart to the point where you cease to be compassionate. When you now say things like, all Igbos are this, I don't like them. Don't allow yourself to be that way, or else you have become exactly the person that you are going against. That's what that person is. Don't become that person. Be compassionate, love people, but don't be stupid. Like, know where to draw the line. And when you draw that line, no matter what anybody says, don't allow yourself to be blackmailed by others. That's the point, right? And you can only do that when you have knowledge. I hope that people will, you know, take to these things, heed these things. If you're Yoruba, especially if you're Nigerian generally, please let's study this, so nobody can blackmail or gaslight us. If you're Igbos, if you're an Igbo person, you need to also study these things. Why? So that you can heal. So that you can heal. You need healing, not peddling victimhood as though it's going to give you what you need for your next meal. Like, you need to heal. And I'm saying this to these clowns in the comment section particularly. Because you must be very stupid to be writing this thing. What's your name? Unduodika. Unduodiaka. And then Python. Both of you are actually very insane. Just like your sister that was lying on the video. Anyway, both of you, it is well. Find healing, right? Find healing. Nobody's going to kowtow to you because you call yourself a victim. If you're a victim, that's your business. Right? What happened will be acknowledged, but victimhood used as a tool to manipulate others will not work going forward. And no matter how many styles you use, you will always fail. What you need is to heal. We can have a conversation as Nigerians and move forward. But the truth of the matter is that nobody's waiting. May God bless you. May God bless every region in Nigeria. May God bless Nigeria itself. And Preacher's Boy says, I have learned a lot from watching your videos on Facebook, and I'm joining the live for the first time. Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We have these live sessions every weekday, Monday to Friday, 4 p.m. if at time West African time. We come on camera Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but Tuesdays and Thursdays we do shorter sessions. So today is just audio. But I'm glad you're here. I hope you got something out of it. We'll be here again tomorrow. We're going to continue that series, The Evolution of Christianity in Yoruba Land. And there are some things we're going to be exploring tomorrow after the news. So please, everyone, let's be here at 4 p.m. We're going to be on TikTok first, play some music, and then we'll bring our people on other platforms on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. We'll get them patched in. So let's make it a date tomorrow. But thank you very much, Preacher's Boy, for that stuff you wrote in the comment section. That's very, very kind of you. Thank you. It's good to have people like you write, and others as well who have been writing, because it's better to drown the negativity with positivity. So thank you so much. All right. Before we go today, like always, we're going to listen to the anthems, the Nigerian anthem and the Yoruba anthem. Again, please learn the lyrics so you can sing along. Again, we'll see you tomorrow 4 p.m. If you want to support what we're doing, please reach out to me on Telegram at Busui Oris. And maybe while the anthem is playing, I'm going to put up the account details. If you want to support, please feel free to support us. Thank you very, very much. Here is, excuse me. 1 second, please. Sorry. Welcome, Miss Mosu. Well, someone says they have missed a lot. Well, you can catch up on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube channel, Busui Oris on YouTube, the live section has, the recordings of everything we have done and that we have done and that we did today as well. And all the videos as well you'll find on the YouTube channel and also on Facebook. But YouTube is easier to navigate because you see the thumbnails and all of that. So please check out the video on YouTube. All right. Here's the Nigerian anthem. Sing along if you know the lyrics. If not, please learn the lyrics. Thank you.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all are proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace all battle honored, and this we count as gain. To
àwa ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ ogun adúláwọ̀, ìmọ́lẹ̀ wo ni wọ́kùn lágbára Ọlọ́run, ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ò ní bàjẹ́, Nàìjíríà náà ò ní bàjẹ́, ilé wa ọ̀nà wa lábàá àtúnṣe, ànígbọ́ láburú sí ara wa. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless Nigeria and God bless Yoruba land. Do have a lovely evening. I'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Ife time, West African time. Let's make it a date, and we're gonna have a great time together. Thank you again for being here today. See you later. See you tomorrow. All right then. Good night. Odaro, Heshio, Preacher's Boy. Thank you for joining us for the first time. Mondays to Fridays, just in case you want to add that to your calendar. All right then. God bless you. Odaro.